I love words. If you've watched any of my other videos, you probably know that I love words. I think words are really important in music so that we know how to communicate with each other effectively and quickly. But there's not many sources that actually take the time to define these words that we all need to know. So that's why I'm here today. I'm going to go through the meanings of 10 words that you'll need to know if you're learning an instrument, if you're starting to compose music, or if you're just curious about music in general. So let's begin. Our first word is pitch. In music, we play notes and we refer to different notes as pitches. We have 12 notes in Western music and we repeat them in octaves. So when we play A, we play all the notes up to A sharp and then we start again from A, and it repeats pretty much forever. The word note refers to these specific pitches. So if I refer to the note A sharp, I could be referring to any A sharp. However, a pitch is a specific note, so the A sharp above middle C is a very specific pitch. Pitches can also be out of tune notes or microtones, and that's why we measure them as a frequency. We measure them in hertz. Notes measured as frequency comes up a little more when you learn about synthesizers and sound design and music tech, that whole side of things. All you really need to know is that note and pitch can be used to mean the same thing, but they do have slightly different meanings. Our second word is chord. A chord is when we play 3 or more notes together. There's 2 main types of chord. There's loads, but there's 2 main types of chord. There's major, which sounds basically happy, and minor, which basically sounds sad. Harmony is all to do with chords. It's the combination of different notes that creates harmony. There's many different chords and many ways to play each chord, but some instruments are only able to play 1 note. We call those monophonic instruments. Mono, one, phonic sound. They can only play 1 note at a time, and that's why in orchestras you have groups of the same instrument so that between them they can play a chord. So if harmony is the combination of notes, what is melody? Well, melody is a sequence of notes, individual pitches played one after the other, like the lead vocal in lots of music, or a guitar solo is a melody, or the hook in a piece of pop music. Chances are, if you listen to a piece of music and you have something stuck in your head, it's going to be the melody. Our next word is tempo. Tempo is the speed at which we play music. It's measured in beats per minute, or BPM, which is exactly what it sounds like. How many beats are there in each minute? Traditional music is usually kind of vague about what tempo they want. So for example, allegro is somewhere between 120 and 156 beats per minute, as opposed to electronic music, which can be whatever tempo, but it's probably only ever going to be that one tempo because it's recorded and then played back electronically. When you're practicing your instrument, you should almost always use a metronome, a device that allows you to stay perfectly in time. As you can see on this metronome, allegro is written as somewhere between 120 and 168 beats per minute. So either this is wrong or Google is wrong. I don't know. Our next word is rhythm. So tempo tells us how fast to play, but without rhythm, we don't know what we're playing. Rhythm is all about how we group and subdivide time. So you've probably seen a crotchet written like this, and that is 1 beat. And we also have a quaver, which is half a beat, so exactly twice as fast as this one. Also, these notes are called different things depending on where in the world you are. Sorry. But the good news is that when it's written like this, that only ever means that duration, yeah? Whether we're in America or Germany or Lithuania. Usually we're given a time signature at the start of a piece of music, and that tells us how we group these different beats. So for example, a time signature of 4/4 means that we have 4 crotchets per bar. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we repeat 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Dynamics is a similar concept to volume. If you play a piano softly, you get a different sound to if you play it hard. And yeah, volume is a factor there, but playing something hard also means it sounds more aggressive and loud, but also aggressive. Some instruments have different techniques for getting different dynamics that aren't just the velocity with which you play a note. Guitarists, for example, can palm mute. near the bridge of the guitar to get a much more restrained sound. Word number 7 is sonority, sometimes called timbre. Instead, it's basically the sound of a sound. So two instruments can play the exact same pitch, but you can tell the instruments apart because of the instrument's sonority. A saxophone is always going to sound like a saxophone, and a bass guitar is always going to sound like a bass guitar because of their sonority. Our next word is score, sometimes called sheet music because that's exactly what it is. It's music written down on a piece of paper such that we can read it and play it. Go away. Musical score was, for quite a while, the easiest way for music to travel around the world, way before we had CDs and Spotify and WeTransfer. Sometimes families used to gather around the piano to play whatever sheet music they could get hold of, and that is how music was experienced, and if you couldn't read the score, you didn't get music. Sheet music is great for most traditional instruments, but there are other ways to write music, whether you want your composition to be performed or whether you just want to write down your music as a form of copyright protection. Guitarists, for example, will use something called tablature, which is just more accessible as a guitarist than traditional score is, and it means that composers can be way more specific about what they want from a guitarist. And sometimes bands are just given a chord chart, and that's the only information they have, and then it's down to their musical experience and their personal interpretation to decide how to play those chords. Word number 9 is ensemble. Ensemble refers to a group of musicians, whether it's a massive orchestra, whether it's a rock band, or whether it's a single person busking on the street. Whatever the size, we call that an ensemble. Usually music is composed with a specific ensemble in mind, and if you want to play it with a different ensemble, for example, you want to take an orchestral piece and perform it in your death metal band, you need to do something called arranging. Arranging is all about taking the original music and adapting it to your ensemble such that it's still recognizable as the original piece. Our next word is genre. Genre refers to the specific style of a piece of music, and that can vary depending on where in the world it was created, what era it was composed in, and the background of the composer. When we refer to the genre of a piece of music, we can often get a lot of information about the tempo that it should be performed, the ensemble that should be playing it, the dynamics, the types of harmony. You can get a lot of information from just the genre alone. For example, a rock band and a metal band will have a very similar ensemble, but a metal band will play a lot faster and a lot more aggressively. On the other hand, a big band jazz orchestra and a lounge pianist might play very similar music in terms of harmony, but the arrangement is going to be wildly different. Here's a fun fact. You learned way more than 10 words in this video, and if you want to keep learning words, you can check out my other musical dictionaries, which will be on screen now. There will also be some other video of mine that YouTube has decided to show you. Do come and watch more of my videos if you enjoy making music and want to know more about how to do that, and I will see you on whatever video you click on.